What's going on, man?
Well, typical day here in Lower New York. Am I getting you in Schenectady?
I'm in Albany right now.
Well, you're from Albany, that whole area and all that originally, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, who were the artists that came from that area that from an early age you kind of went, if they made it, I can make it too?
Nobody out of Albany specifically. I mean, there's like a lot of people coming up in the city, obviously, but no one really did it in music around where I'm from. Like, there's a couple, I don't know, influencers, like different social media stars and things like that, like of athletes and stuff, but no one really made it with music shit yet from around here. Not that I know of.
Not that you know of. I'll have to do some research to see who that is, if anybody. But you started off on guitar and all that and great rock influences. What was your gateway into reggae, though, or even outside of rock?
Gateway into reggae probably sounds super default, super cliche, but Bob Marley, of course. Family reunions, just playing the whole Bob Marley tape front to back. I think it was Legend. So I got to know all those songs, like all the way through. Big fan of that. It was like the first reggae I downloaded onto my iPod Classic, the big one, 64 gigabyte like brick iPod.
Yeah, sure.
I had just so much different types of music on there, and I would take influence from just my whole family's taste, pretty much. So I'd be like, oh, this sounds nice. What is this? It was never like, oh, that's old music. I don't want to listen to it. Like that attitude as a kid. I know a lot of people have that. Like, oh, I don't want to listen to my parents' music. It was always like, all this is great. I'm gonna take all this in. I'm gonna listen to all this.
And you're on Island Records, which is the label that gave the world Bob Marley. When did you first become aware of
Yeah.
Island other than, hey, I'm signing on the dotted line with the label?
I knew of Island, like I knew of the label, of course. I knew the name. I didn't really know who was signed to them except for Amy Winehouse because she was kind of like the staple of the label, I believe. But yeah, I didn't really know much about them. I knew they existed. I knew they had some type of reputation and big artists on the label.
Right. You too, and so many great artists came from Island. But bringing it back to you here, I believe you were discovered as a result of SoundCloud. Do I have that correct?
Honestly, I don't know how they found me. It was either SoundCloud or Spotify.
Had you been making a lot of music on your own before starting to put your music on SoundCloud?
Yeah, like I started like making beats before I even got a guitar on my old iPod Touch. Started making like beats on little apps like Finger Beats, different things like that. And I used to go to my friend's house. He had a little iPad with GarageBand on it, and I used to use that. And then before I actually got an iPhone, I had to use my parents' phone with the software on it to create on there. So it's been a minute of creating for sure. I mean, I've been laying down songs, like stupid little songs I come up with. I used to set up a camera and sing to it when I was like not even 9 years old yet. I would say just little things like that. I would always just try to get what was in my brain down somewhere to hear it again, you know?
When you started putting music on SoundCloud in the first place, was it because you wanted to get signed or you just needed to create an outlet?
I definitely put it up not to get signed, just to be famous. Like I was super inspired to just be famous. Like before any of the music stuff, I was trying to get famous on YouTube, like comedy sketches. Like I was a fiend to get famous.
In the best of ways, of course. You said that Albany has some influencers and all that, but do you like the idea of being thought of as an influencer in the sense that if you are an artist with a creative outlet, but you're also funny, isn't that kind of like being an influencer in a way?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they're all just. I don't know. It's like you can generalize everybody into an influencer for sure. Like for me, that's just like someone that a lot of people know, and like that's a celebrity too. That's being famous. I mean, you could be an influencer and a musician at the same time, of course.
So a bunch of your songs have millions of plays all the time and crush and all that. Do you have a favorite song at this point when it comes to performing live?
Performing live. I was asked this question on my Instagram live yesterday. and I had to think about it. It's like, of course, the ones that everybody knows is always going to be really good. I mean, a lot of people know most of the songs, but the ones that everybody knows, they can just scream it and sing it for you. Like there's those songs, and then there's the ones that like really like the heart wrenching songs. I feel like Fall Back, especially when I did the song's called Fall Back. Um, Especially when I did the MTV performance, we had the live band behind it, and that song was really special. It really came to life. So I would say the live version of Fall Back was, to this day, probably my favorite song to perform, just because of how much emotion I put into writing that. And then when I get on stage, I get right back in that zone of when I was writing it. So it's like a lot mentally, and then it's like hard to get out of that zone and turn the show back up. But um, I do it every time. So
That's kind of a rarity these days that people are connected to the music that they write. And I say that because so many people are performing co-written material to the point that it's just not really about them anymore. So
yeah,
glad to hear that for your sake. But you just mentioned Instagram Live. Of course, no one's happy to be quarantined right now, but how are you taking the whole thing?
honestly, not very good. It's hard to get inspiration just sitting in the crib. Um, I'm doing what I can though. I'm practicing a lot of guitar and just instruments in general. Not really focusing on certain songs, but kind of just honing my skills in. Just sharpening up my tools. Kind of preparing for when I can go back on tour again. And I want to. This is like a future endeavor. I want to be able to play a whole set with a guitar in my hand. That's always been like a dream of mine. So I'm really trying to perfect that. Just practicing guitar every day, playing at least like 2 hours a day. Really seeing improvement recently.
Do you have any guitar endorsements at the moment? And if you don't, this is a chance to start getting them.
I don't have any endorsements, but shout out Fender because I went over there and they gave me free guitar strap and some picks and a tuner and a case, all for free.
Well, that's a good start to say the least. And was guitar your first instrument?
Um, Definitely my first instrument that I owned, yeah, but piano is probably what I messed around on first.
Got it. And bring it back to something that you said about how you originally pursued comedy and all that through YouTube. Is that something that you see yourself taking seriously down the line after your music career is even more solidified?
I'm definitely trying to make some cameo appearances. I'm trying to be in like some Comedy Central shit. I don't know. I'm trying to get up. I'm trying to get on the screen for sure. I don't know what it's gonna be. I don't know why I'm gonna be there, but I'm definitely trying to get there. And it doesn't even have to be comedy necessarily either. It could be anything.
Well, what is life like for you outside of entertaining people and creating art?
Play a lot of video games. Hang out with my friends. Hang out with my girlfriend. Um, I really don't do much. I'm not that interesting, believe it or not. I travel a lot, but that's just for tour and stuff. I really don't do much, man. I chill. I'm a big chiller.
And what is it that keeps you based in Albany as somebody who's been all over the place at this point?
Friends and family for sure. I don't have any friends on the West Coast yet. I mean, I have like acquaintances, like producers I've worked with and stuff, who I'm sure if I hit them up, they'll be down to chill. But I don't have any day ones out there. I mean, yeah, I don't want to like sleep on my friends in LA, but it's like everyone I grew up with is here. You know what I mean?
Right, right. And of course, everyone and everything is uncertain right now. But do you know what the next confirmed or firm thing that you're looking towards is? Anything in the fall or the winter?
We're gonna finish up the Souly Had, or the we're gonna finish up the Audrey Mika 5 a.m. tour. I heard I don't want to drop a month or a date, but I'm gonna just say next year. We're still planning to finish that out as of right now, but you know how things go. We'll see what happens, and definitely trying to move. I'm not trying to move all the way to the West Coast, but I'm definitely trying to get a place in the city for sure. I need to be over there. I love it.
Great. So, besides checking out your new music, any last words for the kids?
Don't do drugs. Um, that's a classic one. Don't do drugs. Listen to good music. That's all I got.
Paltrocast.